And now I'd like...
All good.
Thanks. Hello? Is it too much echo? Hi. I represent Justice for Women and Children. Is that one?
A bit louder.
Hi. I represent Justice for Women and Children, and I'm here in Redcar to raise awareness of the abuse of power within children's services. The abuse that affects...
Sorry.
Hello? The abuse that affects children, parents, families and communities up and down this country. I want to highlight the corruption of forced adoption, secret courts and institutional abuse in the care system. The cover-up of rapes of our children and the negligence of social workers. The worst thing to happen to a mother is to lose a child. But what about when it's the state that takes your child? Over 1,000 children are wrongly adopted every year. The UK has the highest number of forced adoptions in the whole of Europe. They are building cases on future potential harm to a child. Since when did they have a crystal ball? 5% of families are referred for assessment every year. A family who comes into contact with social services usually have some difficulties, maybe emotional problems. At what point do these problems mean a child should be removed from their family? Applications to take children into care have hit record high, yet cases of identified abuse have fallen by 8%. They have taken children from parents at birth just because the mother has been in the care system, deemed unfit to be a parent because of her upbringing. Why don't they support these parents to make sure there is no future harm, instead of pushing adoption orders through? According to the Samaritans, 84 men a week commit suicide in the UK. That's 12 a day. The single biggest killer of men under the age of 50. How many of them have been put through the care system? Children are being forcefully removed from mothers who have been victims of domestic abuse. Where is the protection for the mother? The whole point of social services was to support families in the community, help families stay together. Here in the UK, they are doing the opposite. They're obsessed with adoption. Money from the British taxpayers funds this corrupt system, and some foster carers have been known to be paid over £100,000 a year. There are clearly cases where children have to be removed from their parents for their safety and well-being. This is when they should be looking at the wider family, not tearing the child from the whole family. Communities need to be looking out for each other. We need to find a way to protect our children without involving the authorities. Those who dictate the norms of society, what is considered right and wrong, moral and immoral, good and bad, sane and insane, possible or not. By creating the norms, the government have created an army of people to impose those norms on each other. Political correctness. They have created a human population of prison wardens who are jumping on those of us who don't follow their rules or step out of the norm. Most people live their lives within their norms to be considered normal, and so people will leave them alone. When we get to the edge of those norms of what we say and what we think, what we do, we fear what the people around us will think of us. We need to step out of the fear and speak out to protect our children, our family, and our community. Social workers should not be deciding who is fit to raise a child when the wider family can step in. They have the option of family group conferences to keep children out of care. Ofsted report there needs to be more children in care. Why? Since baby P, the number of children taken into care has risen each year, and adoption has reached its highest level ever recorded. Close to half of those were forced adoptions, the process sometimes only taking 26 weeks through the court. Decisions made so quickly without offering the family support to improve their circumstances. What right do they have to make those decisions so quickly? Family courts are not child-friendly places. Kafkas cherry-pick information to leave out positive reports about parents. Other professionals who disagree with the social workers are bullied into supporting their plan, warned to toe the line, persecuted for whistleblowing. Even when the evidence proves the harm was not inflicted by the parent, they often refuse to change their stance. In April 2012, Channel 4 reported on research that raised a number of serious issues about the quality of evidence given by psychologists in family courts. Among the findings, 20% of psychologists were not deemed qualified. 65% of experts' reports were judged to be poor or very poor quality. In an article in July, the Times newspaper reported, social workers, medical experts and judges who decide to remove children sometimes save their lives by doing so. Sometimes they ruin them. That is a grave responsibility. It means that the child protection system should be accountable and transparent. Unfortunately, it is neither. Serious miscarriages of justice are occurring behind the closed doors of social services departments and family courts. Do you know they have closed most of their social work offices, yet still use old addresses on their correspondence? Scattered around, hiding in the offices of other services. Too often a secret state is at work that seems to assume that parents are guilty and then prevents them from proving their innocence. Some parents can't get copies of the evidence against them. Others are refused permission to call experts in their defence. Many fear that the professionals are distorting evidence and making problems worse. Problems that could have been resolved by supporting those families rather than tearing them apart. It's impossible to know the extent to which miscarriages of justice may be happening because the whole system is shrouded in secrecy. Gagging orders on families and draconian reporting restrictions mean very few cases come to light. Judges can choose to make their judgment public, but few do. The authorities justify secrecy by arguing that the suffering of children caught in these fraught situations could be made worse by publicity. But secrecy also protects incompetence and wrongdoing. It should be possible to hide the child's identity whilst also holding the professionals accountable. Rape victims are anonymous in rape cases. That doesn't prevent police officers making a statement in an open court, nor the media reporting the evidence in full. Family courts have a lower standard of proof than criminal courts, yet they effectively pass life sentences. Even if parents prove their innocence on appeal, once their child has been adopted, they will never get them back. They should not be adopting children out without parents' consent, except in the most extreme cases of proven child abuse. According to Wikipedia, the UK government states that children are only removed and adopted without parental consent when it is in the child's best interests and when nothing else will do. Section 31 of the Children's Act requires that children only be removed from parents if they have suffered or are at risk of suffering significant harm. The term risk of significant harm is undefined, giving social workers too much leeway to remove children. What this means is the British government will take a child away from their parents if they feel that the parents might do something harmful to the child in the future. This is one of the most common reasons given to parents who have unfairly and unjustly lost their children to the foster care system, with no actual evidence of abuse. Children are being removed from loving homes and families for something that has not even happened or may never happen. When these children are forcefully removed from their homes, the families have no control over the situation, their children's whereabouts, or even if they'll ever get them back. Imagine how a child feels when they're forcefully removed from their family by the police. How traumatic that must be. How many women have had their babies snatched from them as soon as they've given birth, not having a chance to snuggle their baby for the first time or breastfeed them? They predict these women will not be capable of raising children or label them with mental health problems because they may have had anxiety or depression in the past. They are going against their fundamental human rights. They have the right to be parents. Since when did having postnatal depression mean you lose your child? Believe me, it happens. How many of your children have anxiety and depression today? Will they have their babies stolen as soon as they give birth? Will you get to be grandparents? These women don't have the funds to fight the system. A lot of them plunge into the despair of losing a child, and in worst cases take their own lives. Poorer families are targeted as they don't have the resources to fight the crooked system. In July 2012, Channel 4 investigated the situation and revealed a secret underground network helping parents flee the UK before they lose their children. They said the charges against the parents they spoke to were not physical or sexual abuse, but emotional abuse, or the risk of potential future neglect or abuse. They met a British couple the network had helped flee from the UK earlier that year when they discovered she was pregnant. Like many parents, their argument was that they were not given a fair hearing by a system that was too quick to remove children. Their first child had been removed at birth because the mother, who suffered prenatal depression, and the father were assessed as posing a risk of future harm and neglect. They said they accepted the need for action in some cases, but parents can be accused of something that is impossible to defend against. According to a woman involved with the network, there are between 300 and 600 families a year leaving the UK. The networks offer safe houses where families can lie low before heading overseas, fake birth certificates and keys to rented homes across Europe. These women have had their babies snatched from them by truly heartless social workers who show no compassion, no sorrow, no pity and no words of consolation. Why is all of this happening? Follow the money. It is a corrupted, ice-cold and brutal child-snatching system that's tearing families apart for money and substantial profits. The government offers a bonus to local authorities if they hit their adoption targets. The fostering and adoption service is big business. In 2010, a company called CareTech, which runs children's homes and mental health homes, became the first stock market listed company, buying 4 fostering groups for £14 million. There are 3 types of homes: children's homes, residential special schools registered as children's homes, and secure children's homes. A report in April this year found that for 2017-18, the number of children's homes of all types continued to rise. However, the number of homes run by the local authority continues to fall. In April this year, there was an increase of 3% of privately run homes on the previous year, making up 73% of all homes. At the same time, the local authority have reduced the number of homes they run by 3%, falling to make up only 19%. The remaining 8% run by voluntary organisations stays the same. In that year, there was £10 million spent on children's services. While the local authorities are closing facilities at a growing rate, the private run-for-profit sector is growing. This takes money away from where it is needed and lines the pockets of those making a profit. 50% of properties being used as children's homes are your standard 3 to 4 bedroom house. The kind children go missing from, often becoming victims of child sexual exploitation. While all of this is happening, innocent parents are treated like criminals after having their children viciously and callously taken away from them. Some have even been put into the mental institutions or arrested when they have tried to fight the system. The government continues to bully anyone who doesn't have the means to defend themselves. At some point in the future, the Prime Minister of this country will have to apologise to all those children and families whose lives have been ripped apart. By then it will be too late for most. Across the UK, families and lives are being torn apart with no saviour in sight. We have to stand against injustice and raise awareness of these atrocities. Thank you for listening. Justice for women and children. I just want to read out as well some messages from some parents that have been in touch with me since I've been involved with justice. And there's been so many, you wouldn't believe how many people I meet who have a story. A woman lost her children for being a victim of domestic abuse, and she was abused through the care system. Social services destroyed my family since I was a child, and they're still doing it 30 years later. When will they ever go away? I hate them. They ruined my childhood and my adult life. They have ruined my children's lives for potential neglect and potential future emotional abuse. I'm scared for my 13-year-old daughter's future, and she's getting out of control, and she lashes out and would hit her sister. I've begged for help, and they say it's only her hormones, but it isn't. I know if it isn't hormones, social services make things 10 times worse. I will do anything to get rid of social services for my kids' future. I was put in care, but I got groomed when I was in care, then I fell pregnant. When I had my first child, they took her from hospital. This was 2004. My daughter's foster parents was a Belfast mayor. They fell in love with my daughter straight away, never gave me a chance. The foster carers had never fostered. They went on to adopt, which I didn't know about at the time, so they never gave me a chance to be a mum. It was always possible emotional neglect due to her being raised in care, due to the mother being raised in care, sorry. And Andy as well, he was put into care by his mother, and he was just put through the care system and abused all the way through, even with his foster carers. This is the story I hear every day from people. Too many people, up to 50%, nearly 50% of children are stolen in forced adoptions. Yeah. Here's somebody else with a story. Come and tell your story. Have you got a story? Would you like to tell your story?
No. I'll let you first.
Right, okay. I'm going to speak to this guy. Do you want me to speak about it, or do you just want to speak to me?
Yeah, the thing is, the police
All right.
and
I was in the Tommy accommodation.
Can't off then.
Oh yeah, my daughter, Lindsay Ramsey, and
Oh,
the
sorry.
to be here.
She said 10 minutes. If we'd have known, we'd have to wait.
How? They took the girls off you?
That was all.
All right. Just
the mom, 7 o'clock, till I
She's-
next
the
week.
voice.
Alright.
I was horrified what the police did, and they took my children off me, so I'm fighting the social services.
So you're currently fighting with social services? Yeah, a lot of people have got that story. There's somebody today actually that's reading this. This speech has been read out in as many towns as possible today at 12 o'clock. It's a countdown for Christmas, and we just wanted to make people aware that there's an awful lot of children, thousands of children wrongly adopted, thousands of children that should be with the family today and over Christmas and aren't, thousands of parents who've lost children just because they've been put in the care system and now deemed not unfit to be a parent because of that care system. Where's the care in that system? On Sunday, I spoke to a woman who knew Baby P's mother when she was a child, and she told me this child was the worst abused child she'd ever come across. And this child was battered and bruised and abused by her brother. Social services took her into care, put her back with the mother, time and time again. This woman can't talk to anybody about this because it looks like she's defending what she did or allowed to happen to Baby P. Well, why did they wait till Baby P before they tried to do something? And why have they used her son as a reason to take children before there's been any harm whatsoever? And what makes them think that a child that's been in care will automatically hurt their child? A lot of those women love their children and they don't deserve to lose them. They're not given the opportunity. How many more kids? It's big business, folks. How many more kids are going to be taken into the system so they can make money? 73% of care homes are run-for-profit homes, making money off our children in the care system while destroying the child. It's a life sentence. These children are put into care and used and abused and then just tossed aside. They should be with their families. These families should get help. If they're not good parents, they need the help to be better parents, not to have their children taken away. This is Handmaid's Tale in reality, folks, if you've ever seen the series. I don't know if you've ever, but it's eugenics by any other measure. They decide who is fit to be a parent. Is that what we want for our children's futures? We need to make a stand.
Thank you. Hello. Oh,
Sorry.
you said 10 minutes.
I know. Well, I did say half an hour, but I'm going to go now because this thing is waiting to come back on. But thank you all for listening.
Horrible.